This is Drive, and I'm Jim Farley. I never expected to be a podcaster, ever. And yet here I am, interviewing all these cool people about the thing I love, cars. And I've had such a great time getting to know different people through the lens of their relationship with cars. I've learned a lot. I laughed. I've gotten a little emotional, and I've been surprised along the way.
It's 6 a.m. this morning, and I'm out there with my friend throwing the football in my front yard, thinking, who the hell else in the world is doing this right now? I mean, no one.
My next guest is Tom Brady.
Like, what is wrong with me where I set the alarm for 5:30 on Friday morning where I'm like, I got to get out there and work on throwing the football. So that is an imbalance.
And we're going to start in a place you wouldn't expect, the NFL parking lot.
So if you're in the NFL parking lot at a facility, you're basically going to see every car known to man. And a lot of it's based on, guys as styles and so forth. Some guys have been in the league for a long time. So listen, they've made some money. So when you make some money, you can afford a nicer car. Some guys haven't made a lot of money. And most football players, a lot of guys that are making 150 grand, which I know is a lot of money, but after taxes, you're at 75 grand. You're not going to go spend $50,000 on a car if you're paying, 75 grand, if you're, netting 75 grand. So, you're going to find beautiful cars from all the fancy, the Ferraris, which is hard for the bigger guys. Most guys are going to have trucks. Most guys, I think,
because they're bigger.
They're bigger guys, and they're going to need a lot of room because it's not just the size of the guy, it's the size of all your stuff too.
Yeah.
It's not like you have, whenever I go travel with my wife, for example, I have a suitcase, and she's got a suitcase, and her suitcase is about a third of the size of mine, and she's got twice as much clothes in there. And she's always like, why are you bringing such a big suitcase? And I'm like, because my shoes are size 13. Like, there's only so many size 13s I can fit into a bag before I got to get another bag. So when you're 320 pounds or you're a size 17 shoe, all your stuff is big. It's not just you that's big. So, I'm sure a big pickup truck for a guy who's 330 pounds doesn't feel like it's that big of a truck at the day, but he's not squeezing his body into some, 4-door coupe. So, it's a big, comfortable car. And then you got some of the flashier guys that have, some of the faster, Lamborghinis. I've seen Lamborghinis. I've seen, Rolls Royces, as that top level. And then I've seen guys who are pretty smart with how they take care of their money too. They find something that's nice, but it's more economical too. So
is there anyone that you ever played with that had like a car that was pretty normal and didn't have to have a normal car, but did just because, that's
a lot of guys. And it's usually the guys who make kind of the best decisions on the field are typically the ones that make the best decisions off the field too.
That's interesting. So, yeah.
The guys that are really like smart and dependable and guys that are really, smart about how they take care of their bodies, they're the ones that I think are the ones that are responsible when they're buying cars too. They're not overspending for, their lifestyle. And I think the hard part is when you get guys, and I see it a lot with young players, you never know how long a career is going to last. After you get your first paycheck, and it's the first time that you've ever had money because you went to college and you had a $300 scholarship check and, you're on a college campus, so you walked everywhere. But the first time you got, $100,000 in the bank, you want to go buy a fancy car, and I'm like, guys, this is not the way to spend the money. You got to think about how you're going to spend it. So there's a lot of guys over the years that have just bought more simple cars. And
I love that. This is something I think a lot about and talk to my wife a lot about, which is when we work really hard over a lot of years and you're lucky enough or fortunate enough to be in our situations, but yet you don't want your kids to take anything for granted. I know you're a great father, a great husband. I try to do the best I can. What's your formula to keep your kids' feet on the ground? Because this is something my kids are getting in high school now, and I'm always talking to my wife about this topic. I love your insights.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a great question, and it's probably the hardest thing for us as parents. With myself and my wife. My wife grew up in rural, Brazil, the furthest state south, Rio Grande do Sul, very small kind of farming town. Very simple girl. There were 2 bedrooms in their house, one for their parents and one for her and her 5 sisters. and I grew up and I would say a middle-class family in California. My dad worked his ass off for our family. My mom stayed at home, took care of us kids.
Mm.
And I saw my mom work every day to make food for us at night and, wash our clothes. And, they supported us by coming to all our games. And, it was amazing, and then I look at my life with my family and it's so fast. I mean, it's just, we have people that clean for us. We have people that make our food. We have people that drive us to the airport if we need that. We get off a plane and there's people waiting there for us and we get ushered in. And it's just, that's my kid's reality, which is the hard part to say, guys, this is not the way reality really is, and what can we do about that? I think we can try to create experiences that are more along the lines of what most kids go through, even though they'll still have experiences that a lot of kids never do have. And
We'll never have.
it's hard to make those things up too. I can't say, hey, we're going to go back and live on Portola Drive in San Mateo because, it's a pretty hard thing to do just for privacy purposes and so forth. So
Sure.
I don't know the right answer. I don't know the right answer as a parent. There's a lot of things I'm still learning as a parent. I know that I've screwed up a lot of things. That's the reality of being a parent. But, you just hope you can show them enough things to realize that when they are doing things that are selected for mom and dad to make our lives more convenient, that is a treat. That is something that is not what every kid goes through. Probably one of the biggest challenges we have as parents.
Totally there too. So what are you strict about as a dad?
I try to be pretty strict about their diet, because I feel like that was something I got started really late on in my life. And I really had to overcome a lot of kind of physical challenges to have the career in football that I wanted. And when I started to make those good choices with you see me every time I'm walking around with water. I got my water next to me. The stuff that I'm eating is very healthy. Trying to be as healthy as I can when I'm not at home, even though, I'm probably just more typical when I'm on the road. But I really want to instill in my kids healthy food choices. And that's something that's been really important to me and my wife because I want them to maximize their physical ability and limits. I want to give them a good start in that area of life. I think education is obviously important for all of us. But I'm not worried about that at all. I feel like, they've got that under control, but I think their physical body and then perspective, I think I'm always trying to let them know the other side of the story too. There's one perspective you have, but oh, by the way, there's a lot of other perspective. I told my son the other day, I said, he's like, Dad, do I really need to play with, he's 12. He's got a 9-year-old sister. Dad, do I need to play with her? Like, why do I need to play with her? She's not as good as me in it. It's not fun playing with her. I said, well, listen, what about when you're playing with your older brother and he says, well, I don't want to play with Benny because he's not as good as me in it. How would you feel about that? And he goes, well, that's a good thought, Dad. So I'm going to go I'll go play with her. But the point was there's going to be a lot of things we're good at in life. There's going to be a lot of things we're bad at in life. We got to see the perspective. When we're good at something and someone else isn't good at something, have perspective because you're not going to be good at everything either. And I think, you develop relationships with family members or friends. We met each other through the game of golf. You're going to play with people at golf that just aren't good, but that's okay. You can still enjoy it and have a great time because you're going to play with guys that are a lot better than you. And you want to have them enjoy that experience too. So I think so much of it is just having the right perspective on things of, that's a very important part of life.
So what was your first car?
So growing up in the Bay Area, my first car I bought from my sister. My sister's 3 years older than me. I had 3 older sisters. My middle sister, Julie, bought a car, a 1967 Dodge Dart. And she bought it for $1,000. And it got passed down to me when 3 years later, when I was 16, she went off to college. And I bought it from her for $500. I had a car that would basically get me to and from school, which was about 1.5 miles away, which I obviously could have walked or rode a bike. But, when you have all your gear and your backpacks, you drive it. The funny thing was it never started. It was always I never knew if it was going to start or not. I mean, it was as long as the boat that I owned. It was massive. I mean, it was just, and if the temperature was below 50 degrees, it was 50-50 whether it was going to start or not. So I really did gain an appreciation for it though. And I've always been someone who kind of took care of the things that I had.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'd wash it. I'd vacuum it. I mean, I made this thing look
Oh, okay.
as good as it could possibly look. And that was probably in 1994 that I ended up buying it from her. And I still remember it at this cream color, but I treated it like it was, a Ferrari. I mean, I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world, and because it was mine. It was the first time I really had something like that.
This is Drive, and I'm Jim Farley. I wanted to ask you a little bit about things that don't go our way. So, in business, having the opportunity to lead forward is such a privilege. But I got here in a very unpredictable way. Like, I would, if you were 199 in the draft, I'd be like 299 in the draft. But when I look back at all my experiences, they actually all, especially the failures, they all kind of almost perfectly prepared me for this moment, which I don't know how it worked out. Look, I worked really hard. I got a lot of opportunities, got lucky too, but, it all kind of came together. And it's interesting now because, to be an athlete, so to speak, as a business leader, it can come late in your life. And it did for me. I was definitely a late bloomer. And I definitely learned the most from my failures. How would you describe your perspective on that topic of like overcoming, working around the things that maybe you're not so good at, accentuating you're really good at?
Exactly the way that you described it. There's a great saying, you either win or you learn. And if you learn from the losses and you learn from things that didn't go well, it could be a great positive in your life, because you got to dig deep when things don't go well. The games we've lost in my career, and I know I would say losing a game in terms of perspective is relatively meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but in the moment it feels like a lot. But it allows you to look at kind of deep perspective on, okay, where are our failures? What are the processes that are wrong? Where are the things that we did wrong? What are the things that we need to do to improve? You don't typically do that when things are going well. And I think great leaders, I had one when I was playing for the Patriots, great leaders, they're always saying, well, it's good, but these are all the things that we screwed up when things went well too. As opposed to saying, look, the only time we're really going to correct ourselves is when things go poorly. So then you wait to do poorly and then to correct yourself. When things are going good, you have to be very conscious and aware of why things are going good, and then try to continue to repeat those things rather than say, well, things went great because I'm just so great at all these things, and they're going to continue to go great because I'm going to roll out of bed in the morning and they're going to go great again. I think people, that's a very common trait, I think, by a lot of people that achieve things, but then again, don't continue to maximize what they could become. The best athletes that I've ever been around and the best teams that I've ever been on, they were the teams that had the guys with the chips on their shoulders. They're the guys that were the late bloomers. They're the ones that developed sustainable traits of success that was discipline, communication, work ethic, teamwork, humility, self-awareness, all those traits that you see in people that endear you to them. When I'm around those guys, I feel like I'm the best person I could be for myself. When I'm not around those guys and I'm around other people, I'm just going, God, what? It's not enjoyable because that's not how I see things. I want to be around people that are always trying to work a little bit harder. I'm trying to be around people that are just trying to work a little bit smarter, that are trying to learn from their mistakes. So I think so much of it is just trying to continue to, reach another level. And, when you have a chip on your shoulder when you're young and things don't necessarily go the way you want when you're in high school or college, you develop some inner toughness, some mental toughness to go, you know what? I may not have got that opportunity, but I learned from not getting it. And when I get the next one, I'm going to be prepared. And, I was saying to some friends yesterday, life's not, as we say, life's not fair, but you're going to work really hard at a lot of things and still fail. Working hard is just not, it doesn't mean you're going to succeed. Those other people are working hard too. You got to work hard for the right things. And even if you work hard at the right things, you're going to fail. Failure is just life. Life is about overcoming our adversities. We're going to be faced with so many challenges over the course of our life. What do we need to develop within ourselves that could be sustainable over a long period of time in order to, achieve our highest and best potential?
Do you think that sense in you, that sense that you just described, is something that kind of you picked up along the way? Is there something inside of you as a person, Kaizen, looking for that improvement, looking for using that chip to kind of, continue to go on that road to perfection? Is this something that you learned from other people? Where'd it come from? I know where it came from in my role, but I think a lot of people would be interested in where it come
Well,
from.
I grew up in a family. I'd say it started young. I was pretty competitive young. We had a very sports-centric family. My mom and dad were very competitive, and they loved sports. I had 3 very competitive sisters, and probably 3 nights a week, the nights I would be spending at the ball fields with my sisters in the outfield, playing catch with my, the other brothers of the girls that are out there playing the game. And I just, I saw those girls and they were great achievers in their sport. And I was always kind of known around San Mateo as Maureen and Julie and Nancy's younger brother. This is my little brothers. And I wrote an essay and I wrote an essay in high school, and I was like, one day they're going to be known as Tom Brady's sisters. Because for my whole life, all the way up through 8th grade, I was Julie and Nancy and Maureen Brady's brother.
That is awesome.
And it was really cute. We still talk about those stories today. And I just never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that I'd be playing football in the NFL for as long as I have. And I never imagined any of this. Like, I'm sure you never imagined you having the opportunity to do what you do and lead the group of people that you do. And it's really a blessing. And it's a great, having perspective is so important. I tried never to take it for granted. I love it. I love the opportunity to work with people that, I really enjoy. And, that's been the best part about playing sports, is working with guys that I just love.
That's a great perspective. It'd be interesting to have your sisters on the show and ask them, in an honest moment, what would they say was the same about you as you grew up versus today? And what's different?
I think the person that I am is still very similar. I actually feel like I'm the same kid. I've learned a lot more. I think what's different for me, the challenges are there's I don't know, it'd be probably better to ask them. I wish I could get them on the show with you, but there's what's the hardest thing for me? Time, and just the allocation of time. And I wish I moved away. I went to Michigan. So I grew up in San Mateo. I moved to Michigan. I chose there. I moved to Boston. Now I moved to Tampa. I'm going to build a house in Miami. Like, I never worked my way back to the West Coast, and it just, for one reason or another, I think the hardest change has been not being around kind of those roots that I had. I had amazing roots growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area was incredible, totally different way of life. But at the same time, it created, my family was the biggest blessing. They got it all started, their support. One, a family text, and it's my dad's birthday today, and it's just everyone's. I think it's just what technology's done is it does keep us closer, but everyone gets to tell my dad how much we appreciate him, how much we love him, how much he's meant to us. So, that's probably the thing that's changed the most. My time spent with them, and probably the toughest part about my profession, and also my kind of my drive to continue to play. I mean, it's a little bit tormenting. There's a little bit, I would say, of a serious imbalance in my personality toward football and success in football. And, 6 a.m. this morning, and I'm out there with my friend throwing the football in my front yard, thinking, who the hell else in the world is doing this right now? I mean, no one. Like, what is wrong with me? Where I set the alarm for 5:30 on Friday morning, where I'm like, I got to get out there and work on throwing the football. So that is an imbalance.
I love being around people that are balanced, to be honest. It's totally exciting for me. I've been a car person my whole life, and it totally is twisted. Like all my friends, my hobby is racing cars. I work on cars. I'm like a one-dimensional guy. Like I'm not changed at all. And I'm totally imbalanced about it. But, I'm having a great time. So what? It's working.
And you know what? When you find,
again,
like what we explained to, I was with a group of kids the other day, they said, well, how hard do you have to work to play football? And I said, you know what? I don't feel like I work at it. I'm very lucky. I love it. And I said, I was on this movie set for 2 days. And the second day driving in, I'm like, oh God, second day, holy cow. Like, when is this going to be over? I mean, God. And then yet it's football season and I drive into work every day for 7 months. And I'm like, here we go, baby. Football it is. Let's gear up. It's time to go to work. And it's like, it's the aspect of life of when you find what you love, you want to do it. There's just such an enjoyment about the process of it. And, throwing the football this morning, I'm just like, the ball's coming out of my hand and I'm like, whoa, that's the one right there, baby. And, not a lot of people get to play pro football. I think the experience that a lot of people probably do play is golf. And I'm always like, imagine being on the driving range and you hit a 7-iron just so flush. And the only thing you want to do is just take that 7-iron and do it again. You just want to keep hitting them. And that's the feeling it is throwing a football for me. When it comes off your hand the way you want it and exactly the place you want, you get addicted to that feeling of, wow, that's exactly what I wanted to do. That's what I did. And, I started playing with balls when I was a kid. You know what I mean? As I played with football, baseball, basketball, and it made my life very simple in so many ways. It was this pursuit of dribbling a ball or throwing a ball or hitting a ball. And, I didn't really, I could care less about anything else. You loved cars. I loved, a ball. I mean, it's just pretty simple at the end of the day.
For me, the joy I have in leading forward, is like developing a product that people absolutely love, and they had no idea that they would even need it. Throughout my career, the RX 300, which was for mostly women customers for Lexus, it totally changed our industry. The RAV4, I was a product planner who suggested that. 4-door small pickup truck. I worked on a lot of cool things that everyone is like, Jim, that will never work. And I'm like, no, it's going to work. It's going to work. They're like, nope. Don't even mention it again. We are so sick of you talking about this. You got to stop talking about it. I'm like, no. You don't understand. If you just give me a chance and we build this product, it's going to be really successful. And then when it is, you're like, I told you so. You guys were totally wrong. That is the biggest turn on for me still, even after all these years. We did the Lightning F-150. A lot of people in the company are like, you cannot make an electric F-150. That's like, that will not work. No one wants an electric F-150. I'm like, you're wrong.
Wow.
You're totally wrong. So it's funny how, I don't know how that gets, where you like something so much and it's kind of natural and you almost don't even question it. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it just kind of appears in front of you too. And you just, I don't know, these amazing things happen at the right time and you just, you don't, it's a blessing. It's, people will say, amazing what's happened in your life and you achieving this. And in so many ways in my mind, I think, you know what? There's so many people that paved the roads for me. You know what I mean? There's so many, I was a beneficiary of so many great people in my life, things that happened in my life, opportunities. How could I went to, I grew up in the Bay Area where the 49ers were the team, they were the team. And so I fell in love with football. What if I was in Philadelphia at the time? I don't know. I may not have the same love.
Yeah.
I went to a college that was all about the team. And what if I went to Cal Berkeley instead of Michigan? How different I would be. I got drafted by the New England Patriots at the same time that Bill Belichick was his first year. I mean, what a confluence of so many different things that were so out of my control. And then here I was I look around, what a coincidence. Wow, that was about a 1% chance of happening. Wow, that was about a 1% chance. That was about a 1% chance. And I look at all these things and I'm like, what a blessing, what a blessing.
So what are these NFTs? I'm reading more and more about your NFTs, and it's kind of a big bet, and I'm really curious about it because it's kind of a digital brand.
Absolutely. It's interesting, as I've seen things evolve, I think for the layman out there who doesn't know a lot about it, it's basically a digital collectible. And I just feel like, when I was introduced to them probably a year and 14 months ago, it was a way of connecting with my fans in a deeper way. How can we create collectibles?
I see.
How can we create experiences? How can we create things in the digital world for people that love things that I was doing? And we do that. We give, I'd say, our fans kind of what they want. The NFL can give them jerseys to wear, or trading card companies can give fans things to collect, or you can take, photos and videos of things that you're doing and put them on your social media to give to the fans. I thought there was another way to do it, which was to create unique collectibles, create unique experiences that they can take with them, with them where they go in their life. For me, I've collected different things over the years. I love my trading cards, but, I carried them with me everywhere that I've gone for my whole life. There's that tangible aspect, and now they're sitting in my basement somewhere and I don't get to look at them because they're there. But, people are creating digital versions of those things that we can creep up in our wallet on our phone.
Makes sense.
As I've recognized, the world is only going more digital. Brands like Ford, brands like IWC or Rolex or Audemars Piguet, or athletes like, Tiger Woods. How can he connect with his fans directly, and how can they own something that's really unique to him? And I think we as athletes get to tell our stories more and more just through our own filter. We don't necessarily have to go a traditional route of media. You're doing your podcast. You can connect just directly one-on-one with them. We can do that in our own way, and we can create things individually now that we can get to our fans as well. So it's kind of just, it's been a really cool journey to learn about where, like I said, you're thinking about the future of what the car industry looks like and how you as a leader of a great brand can take that into a new world. I'm looking at ways that I can connect with my fans in a new world as well. So it's a really exciting time there. I think our brand's done great things, Autograph, and, I want to continue to kind of be a pioneer in the field.
Makes perfect sense. My son and I, we both love cars, but cars that I don't like. So we are constantly at each other, and he loves Mopars. And the louder the color, the better. I'm like, and his name is Jameson. I'm like, Jameson, I'm the head of Ford. You can't drive a Dodge Demon, to our house. He's like, Dad, but it's really cool, and it's a Hellcat would be great, and we got to get a wide body, and it's got to be bright green. I'm like, Jameson, that is not working for me as the head of Ford. He's like, well, then I guess I'll have to hide it, Dad, because I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to buy a wide body Demon.
I love it.
Okay, great.
He's got his own point of view on things too. So,
totally.
Absolutely.
And he absolutely loves gaming, and just exactly what you said. I don't know about you, but for me, it was like I was on my bike with my friends. We were roaming around, killing time, having fun. When I hear him on gaming socially with his friends, it's exactly the same thing. They're talking about the same things that I was, but instead of on the bike, they're gaming while they're doing it. It makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I kind of fought. My wife fought it. I fought it a little bit. And then, it's like, because you want them to go exercise their physical, get outside and experience nature. And, I think we do try to create those things for them. But my son laughs so hard when he's on that virtual reality on his Oculus and he's playing with his friends. I've never heard him laugh so much, and that part of me is like, I can't, when he's doing that, he's really in the moment. And I don't know exactly how to correlate that. When I was a kid, I was really present in the moment with my friends, but if that's what he's interested in, that's what he's interested in.
Well, it's been such a treat to talk to you, but I guess I have to ask one question. either what advice should you give to me, or like what kind of car should we build that I'm not building? If you had to change Ford, what would you do, Tom Brady?
So that's why I've been buying your Raptors all these years, because you're making, in my view, what I think is an amazing,
good stuff.
Almost the perfect car. So, I love the EVs. And I think the biggest, not having to go to the gas station is just the coolest thing ever. I mean, and I just think that it's creates some consciousness to what we're doing in the world. And I love the fact that I have my Raptor and I can drive it. But I also love the fact that I'll have an EV too. So, you're doing all the right things. You don't need advice from me. I think you know better than ever what your consumer wants. And I'm kind of probably one of your favorite consumers out there. So exactly what I like.
That is a perfect way to wrap. Thank you so much, Tom Brady.
Thanks, Jim.
All the best.
Great. Appreciate it.
Drive is produced by Jesse Baker and Eric Newsom of Magnificent Noise for Spotify. Chris Curtin is consulting producer. Our production staff includes Julia Knott and Eva Walchover, with help from Lori Arpin, Jeff Nelson, Josh Malofsky, Darnell Macon, and Mark Truby. Special thanks to Liz Kellogg and Matt Lieber. Jim Farley is the host, and this is Drive.